and welcome to the Katie Weaver Show. This is Katie. I'm your host, and I'm so excited to be here. It is a very special day today on the Katie Weaver Show because I'm launching my new book. So I want to thank you guys for being here. I want to let you know that we're over in the chat room. And of course, I do want you to know that we are live. And so the show today, it is the 30th of January at 10 a.m. Pacific time. So if you want to join us in the chat room, just head over to 12radio.com. That's number 2 radio.com. And my tireless producer, Britt, gorgeous and talented producer, Britt, is standing by, and she'll gladly let you in the room. So all you have to do is ask for entry, and boom, you'll be here. You'll see my banner at the top of the page. That's where we're chatting. I am also doing this show via Facebook Live, so you can watch it if you'd rather, right there in the chat room. If you're listening to an archive or a replay, if you'd rather watch the Facebook Live, you can find it over on my YouTube channel, which is Domestic Mystic on YouTube. Whew, so there's all the housekeeping. Okay, so I want to talk to you about my book. I also want to let you know that I am coming back. So after my show, you will be blessed with Angel with an Edge with Elizabeth Lindsay. And then I'm coming back. I'm going to be a guest today on Kai Greenway's show. She's also interviewing me about the book. So if you guys have ever heard an interview by Kai, you know she is fastidious. She's studious. She knows what she's talking about. She sometimes asks me questions about my own work that I hadn't even thought about. She's just really good like that. So I do hope that you will be able to come back and listen to Kai and I. Because Kai and I, wow, I wasn't even right. Kai and me, oh my God, bad grammar. It's not allowed. Kai and I, no, it's definitely me. Okay, I hope you can come back and listen to us as well. Okay, all that jazz. So here we go. So, and I've talked about this before, but I'm going to have to go there again. My mom was a teacher. When I was in the 6th grade, she decided to go back to college, actually. She was a straight A student. She actually took night classes her junior year to graduate a year early. Didn't even do her senior year of high school. She was an extremely intelligent woman. And we were poor, and there was really no opportunity for her to go to college. In fact, she didn't get an opportunity to go to college because her parents told her that it wasn't happening. They told her they couldn't afford it and that they didn't see a need for her to attend college, which wasn't enough for her. So she got married and she had children. And sometime along the way, she ended up being bored. She was working at Kmart. It wasn't for her. She needed more than that. She needed to go to college. So when I was in 6th grade, the woman went to college. And did she go to college? She started at a junior college in our town. And she went there for 2 years, got her associate's degree in elementary education. And then for her bachelor's, she had to go to a college that's about 90 minutes away from us by car. And she would get on the bus every day, about 6 a.m., ride that bus to the college, and she would go to school all day and then ride that bus home and get home around 6 o'clock at night. And it took her 3 years because she could have graduated on time with her bachelor's, but decided to stay for 1 more year and get her special ed endorsement so she could teach special education as well. And here's the thing. When your mom's a college student, and she's a straight A student, you have no excuse. So there was no screwing around with grades at our house. If you had a B, she wanted to know why it wasn't an A. She expected a lot. And I'm glad she did. In hindsight, I'm glad she did, because it always helped me and my sisters to be good students as well. But she did graduate with honors, and right out of the gate got a job in the town that we live in special education. And she taught school for about 15 years before she died. And it was really the calling of her lifetime. I still run into people who say to me, your mom taught my son, and when nobody else could get through to him, she could. Your mom helped my son learn how to read when no one else could. Things like that. Your mom went to battle for me with the school district to get my kid on an IEP or to get what they needed. Lots of that. She was in charge of, she was the union representative in her school, in her specific school. Now, in the town we live in, it's very conservative, and the union is quite hated and demonized, and she didn't care. She was the union rep. And more than once she stepped in when the district tried to do something unfair to a teacher and rectify that. And she didn't care if people didn't like her. She was just doing her job. And I think that a lot of the courage that I hope I have came from her and the passion, because she was an extremely passionate woman. One time, one of her male principals told her that he was very intimidated by her, and she couldn't believe it. And she came home and told us, you'll never believe this, but this principal said that I'm intimidating. And we laughed so hard because she was very intimidating, but she didn't know it. She didn't see it in herself. She was also a gifted writer, and she wanted to write books, really wanted to write children's books, and owned hundreds and hundreds of books. When she died, we made a sizable donation of books to her school because, my God, what were we going to do with them? And so they went to teachers in her school and the library at her school because that's where they belonged. At any rate, when she died of breast cancer when she was 55 years old. And when she died and we went through her office, we discovered, I don't even know now how many journals, a gazillion journals, and also written entries in her laptop, and just so much writing. But one of the things we found was a manuscript that she had started of a children's book, kind of a children's book, more of like a young adult reader. And it was about three sisters who were coming into their gifts and discovering that they were gifted. Actually, in the book were witches. And the book was based loosely on our family. Three sisters, of course, a mom and a dad and two dogs and a cat. And that's a whole lot like the childhood I had. Some of the stories, especially in the first three chapters of the book, her chapters, are based on stories, things that happened to us, things we did. Some of them aren't. I'll just let you sort through those, or maybe Kai and I will talk about that a little bit more. But anyway, that's where the manuscript came from. That's who the manuscript came from. So I've kept it for all these years, and I thought at some point I'm going to finish this book for her. But life happens, and grief happens, and directly after her death, our dad had cancer too, and was convalescing and died 17 months later. And a lot of my energy during that time went to taking care of him, and then of course taking care of my kids and myself, and life just kept happening. Well, this fall it occurred to me that I was ready. I could do it without grief clouding my way. I could do it in a good creative space. I had time, and I just wanted to. I was ready. So right about the first part of September, I sat down and started working on it. And the first steps, of course, were to transcribe all of her written work, or her typed out work, into a digital form. That took me some time. More time than it should have, I discovered later. There was a way to do it, well, a million times faster than I did, but I took the long road. But that's okay, because I got intimately familiar with her portion of the book, which was very important in order to write my portion. So I wanted to give the book to my sisters, to my family for Christmas. And so I got down to the wire as far as what I had time to do in order to get the books printed and back so that I could give them to them. So what I ended up giving my family was the author's cut. And it's the entire book, just not fully edited. But I did get it in time for Christmas, and I wrote in the front cover a message from her to each of our family members. I wrapped them all up, and I gave them to them on Christmas morning, and it was exciting, and it was really fun. And a great deal of them have read the book now and given me some really fun feedback. Some of them have caught some pretty horrific typos, thank God, and helped me on my path here. So now I'm finally ready to release it. It is fully edited, hopefully, and ready to come out to you guys. It's not necessarily a metaphysical book, but it is. It's not, it is a novel, but I think it's a teaching novel. I think when you read it, you'll understand what I mean, especially for people who have psychic kids or were a psychic kid. So I'm going to go ahead and put the link in the chat room, but you can also search for it over on Amazon. It is called Annie's Girls by Katie Weaver. There is a Kindle version as well as a print version, so you can pick your poison if you're interested in reading it. And I would love your feedback. So I'm excited. This has certainly been a long time coming for me. And I have to give Christy big props because she made me get it done. Well, she and Kai. Kai doesn't know it, but she did exactly what I needed, which was invite me to come on her show and talk about it. And that meant I had to get it done. I've had a momentary author's glitch this month, if we could call it that. A little bit of nerves. You know, when you write a book and you expose it to the world, it's kind of like taking off your clothes. You really are showing something to people that has become extremely private and intimate as you've been working on it. So I haven't gotten it done. And you guys, the edits were minor. I think Christy found about 15 or 20 typos. That's about all I found too. It wasn't a lot. And who knows, maybe you guys are going to come back to me with a few more. If you find a typo, don't tell me. No, do. No, don't. No, definitely do. I can always fix them. Oh, the idea of having anything out there that has any typos in it terrifies me. Seriously. But it happens. I've seen them in, mainstream publishing books too. I know it happens, but it puts a little nail in me because my mom would have never had a typo. She would have never had something out of place. She was fastidious in her writing. Everything that she wrote was published ready. Not me. But that's okay. That's a little different in our writing styles. So anyway, I've been putting it off. I've been weird. I don't know. I haven't been able to understand what the procrastination in me was about, except for that I had some weird nerves and hangups. So luckily for me, I have brilliant people in my world. A husband who is a no-nonsense guy who says, knock this shit off and get it done. A sister who says, we're going to get this book done, and so I'm going to take half of it and edit it and hand it back to you so that you can finish this and get it published because the world deserves to have it and people want to read it and you worked hard on it and you're getting it done. Thank God for her. And then our darling Kai who said, you're coming on my show and talking about this book. And I said, okay. I have to do it. I have to get it done. It's what I needed. So it is done. So again, it's in the chat room. But also if you want to just search it on Amazon, it's Annie's Girls by Katie Weaver. And of course you can buy it in print or digital. I always like having the option. Some people like a book in their hands. Some people like something else. It's whatever it is. So there you go. So thank you all for indulging me and letting me ramble on about this. It certainly probably means more to me and my family than it will to anyone else. But I do hope that if you pick it up, if you're compelled to, that you enjoy the story and maybe get a little bit of learning out of it if there's something that jumps out at you. So there you go. Oh, I did bring my coffee so I could show you. If you guys are in the chat, this is what it looks like. It's blue. Actually, I have a funny story to tell you about the cover because I usually design my own covers, but this time I thought, maybe I'd be smart to go ahead and hire someone else. So I hired a designer from a place called Fiverr, where you hire people to do work for you. And I told him exactly what I wanted. And the first cover, the sisters looked like toddlers. I said I wanted girls that were preteen to teen, basically. Somewhere between the ages of maybe 10 to 15-ish, somewhere in there. Toddlers is what he gave me the first time. So I came back and said, no, they're too young. We've got to go older than that. Then he gave me girls that were dressed like women of the night. I can't even explain it to you other than that, but very scantily clothed teenagers. No, not what I wanted. I almost fainted when I saw that one. So I ended up finding the picture myself and handing it over to him and saying, can we use this? And then I think he did a great job, but it took a little back and forth to get there. But I saved those because I think it's pretty funny. But anyway, that's been a lesson for me because a lot of times in design, I'm really quick to say, okay, yeah, that's fine. And I've had to get pickier and make myself get pickier because I'm really not picky. And picking out the design stuff normally isn't really the thing that I care that much about. The content is what I cared about. But obviously the cover has to mean something. It has to be something, Anyway, so thank God I didn't accept either of those and kept looking until I got the right thing. So the cover now is a sister, one girl with two girls whispering in her ears, which I thought was absolutely perfect for this book. This is not me and my sisters. I've had several people ask me that. It's not us. This is a photo that I bought, but anyway, so there you go. Alrighty, well, there's all that. I think we're ready to move on and talk. I should have plenty of time today to do readings in the chat room, so please let me know if there's something I can do to help you out. Very glad that we finally are out of and away from that eclipse energy. For some reason, it was a more intense one. I think it was even more intense than the big cluster of the ones that we had over the summer. So, it's hit some of you guys extremely hard. So I'm glad that we've gotten away from it. All right, I'm throwing a link in the chat room up for Luminous Magazine for the week. Brand new cover. We really could have kept our cover for one more week, the celebratory one. It kind of looked New Year's-y, but you know what? I was ready to go. So usually I run one for a whole month unless I can't take it anymore, and I couldn't take it anymore. But I really love this cover. It is so pretty. So there's a link in the chat, but if you'd like to follow with me, you can go over to katie-weaver.com, click on the Katie's Magazine button, and you'll be just click on the cover and you'll be right here with me. All right, little note from me, but it was all about the book, so you're well schooled on that already. Okay, the memoir this week is not a memoir, as you've noticed. Sometimes it's not. Scott wrote me an article. I was so happy. I've been trying to get him to write me some articles, and he never has any faith, I think, in his ability to write something great, but he did do something great. I'm not so sure that we're live anymore. I can't hear anything. I'm going to keep going and pretend like we are unless I hear otherwise. Okay. So Scott wrote an article about brewing the blues away. He is the master herbologist at my house. He's not actually a master herbologist, but close enough for me. And the thing about Scott that is great for us, at least at my house, is that what he brings to us is that he's always willing to do the research. Thank you, Quelly. He's always willing to do the research to let me know what it is that is going to be the best for us. And so he also grows quite a bit of his own herbs, and he wild harvests a lot of his own herbs. So in the summertime, he'll be out gathering things like rose petals, in the fall, rose hips, growing a lot of his own stuff. He grows a huge stash of garlic and pickles it so that we eat pickled garlic all winter to keep from getting sick. He does a lot of stuff like that that's pretty fantastic. That just helps us around here to not get ill in the winter. Because, we live in the land of frozen. It was -3 this morning. Thank you, Britt. It was -3 this morning, and with wind chill, it was -10. I know that's not as cold as some of you guys are right now, however, but whew. Anyway, so I'm grateful for him. But he wrote an article this week about herbal remedies for seasonal affective disorder. When you live in a place that gets very wintry, seasonal affective disorder is a form of depression that people get usually sometime around January. And there's a lot of lethargy and apathy and crankiness and just not feeling like yourself. And if you're going through that, you may consider, do I suffer from seasonal affective disorder, also known as SAD? My dad did, and I think I might to some degree actually. But a couple of things to consider and talk to your doctor about is that vitamin D3 is what you're missing. Your body can't make it without sunlight. And if you're in the sun all the time, and even if you're not, you may not even be getting enough sun no matter what, even in your region, to help you. So talk to your doctor about it if you're experiencing that. But Scott wrote a great article with a good suggestion about a simple tea to make, a healing tea to drink if you're going through that, to see if it'll help you feel a little bit better. As always, talk to your doctor if you're making a change, but this is a nice tea to help drink if you need a little extra boost. So thank you, Scott, for writing that for us. Hopefully I can talk him into bringing a little more of that to the table. Alrighty, my February reading special I'm really excited about because this is some of the work that I love the most. And I thought, for the February reading special, I really didn't want to do love. Not that I can't help you with love, and not that I don't want to talk about love, but everybody's talking about love. Yeah, not everyone wants to, right? Not everybody's let's not. If Valentine's Day isn't your jam, maybe we need to do some other things. So that's what I did. This reading is a combination of two of the healing gifts that I have, healing techniques that have come to me over the years from my guides and from my guidance, and sometimes from yours, actually. But so this is a combination of a Merkaba clearing, which is a really deep clearing of your energy body, your physical body, and your emotional body. And then a chakra balancing with alchemy. So balancing your chakras and then using the energy of ethereal crystals and ethereal metals to help open up your chakras, balance them, and hold them in a really great place. So anybody that's been feeling stuck, bogged down, apathetic, drained, overwhelmed, this is for you guys. And I've already done a few of them. It's a great session. I love this so much. So I'm excited. It seems like sometimes it's just what we need. So I'm going to put a little link in the chat room for you. There you go. And you can find that over at Katie Weaver, over at one2listen.com under me, Katie Weaver, under my time-based sessions. So, and it is called, I guess I should have told you, it's called Energy, Alchemy, Healing, and Balancing. So we're doing some alchemy with this one. I'm excited. So let me know if you want to do that session with me. I think that you'll love it. All right, our crystal guidance today is Celestite. Of course, it comes to us from Christy, who is a master crystallologist, and she brings us Celestite, which supports communication with the divine. You can hold this stone, meditate with this stone to call out angelic messages from your guides, connection to source energy. It's a great way to connect. And then the card is one of her brand new cards from her revamp of her deck. You guys, this is really exciting. So it is the flow card. So flow is motion, spirit action, universal connection, allowing, receiving, and being open. The challenge is when you're feeling stuck, blocked, disconnected, or resistant. The crystal, of course, is Celestite. And the meditation is, I move with the tides of universal energy. I am open to receiving the actions of spirit. Awesome. Okay. And then our next article is by Kai, and it is called The Calm. And I absolutely loved what Kai had to say. She quoted the Beatles, so she had me right there. But she was talking about life. She was talking about contemplation. She was talking a little about writing. Everything she had to say in this article just sang to my soul and resonated with the calm that is in me. That doesn't always show up, but it's in there somewhere. So thank you, Kai, for that. I think many of you will really resonate with that. The tip of the week. This is an essential oil blend that I'm particularly partial to comfort your heart and lighten your mood, diffuse a blend of rose oil and grapefruit oil. You can also make a little roll-on of that to wear. It is divine together. Now, rose oil is insanely expensive. And the only source that I know of that I trust, like, and will pay for is over at Jade Bloom. So jadebloom.com, they have rose oil for, I think, about $68-70 for a 5 ml bottle, which is as good of a price as you'll find. And it's very nice oil. So if you want to treat yourself for Valentine's Day this year, maybe consider a bottle of rose oil, because that is a special treat and not something that you have every day, that's for sure. And not something you can buy practically anywhere also. But rose and grapefruit. Now, if you don't have rose, go with grapefruit. Grapefruit is a great oil to lift your mood. Okay. Brittany's divinity. Brittany's article made me laugh so hard because this is me and it's you guys. We have all been this person. She said, I want to change while staying exactly the same. Isn't that brilliant? I know. It is, because we've all been there. We all want to change but stay exactly the same, right? We all want things to be different. We want to manifest the hell out of stuff. But then, guess what? We just can't do it, right? We don't want to change. It's too scary, but we do want to change. I loved what she had to say about it. It's always worth remembering. Okay. Beautiful this week, our weekly cosmic strip from Elizabeth Lindsay. An absolutely beautiful image of earthing. Thank you, Mother Earth, for allowing me to release that which no longer feeds my soul. And if Elizabeth is anything like me, and I think she is, she's probably dreaming of the day that she can put her bare feet on the earth again. I loved it. Thank you, Elizabeth. I'm loving her cosmic strips. They're such a fun addition to the magazine. Dr. Elisa's article says, what you respect in yourself will be attracted to you. I loved that. What are your strengths? Can you tell yourself? Can you tell me? Can you admit what they are? Can you recognize what they are? It's an important thing to do. It's an important thing to know about yourself. And it's okay. You're not being full of ego and whatever. You're knowing yourself and knowing what you're good at is a wonderful thing, a powerful thing. All right. From Melissa Caprio, the Magic Monday message is, your soul is pulled to the place where it belongs, with a really pretty postcard. Thank you for that, Melissa. Chrisanne Morgan's article, This Intuitive Life. She says, in the words of the lovable 90s sitcom lunkhead, Joey Tribbiani, I really want to know how you doing. I love that. She's checking in. This has been a wild month. Great article. Thank you, Chrisanne. I'm so happy that you're here with us. That made me laugh. I've been saying it to people ever since. How you doing? I can't say it like Joey. I just don't have that special New York stuff. All right. And then lastly, Anita and the Masters. She brings us the goddess Bridget or Brigide. I've heard it both ways. She is celebrated, of course, on February 1st, which is Imbolc, which is coming up at the end of the week. So definitely time to connect to Brigide. So pretty cool. Alrighty, well, that's the magazine this week. And of course, you can always find it over at katie-weaver.com. And you can subscribe there too if you'd like to have it emailed to you every week. I do, of course, have it there on my website, and I post it on Facebook. So there's a lot of ways to find it and connect to it. And as always, thank you to everybody who takes the time to contribute. You guys help me put together something that I think is really special. So thank you, everybody, for that. All righty. Taking a look at the chat room. Oh, we need to do our weekly reading. I'm feeling a tiny bit scattered. Again, it's like this book stuff has just put me all aflutter, apparently. We have a situation happening right now that I wanted to talk to you guys about because I think it's really important to discuss things like this. One of my daughters has been being stalked at school, and we've been dealing with that and working through it. Had a very interesting conversation with her principal yesterday about this. There's a boy in her school who he's got some serious learning disabilities and some mental illness and has been profoundly bullied over the years. And she has known him since grade school. So she's known of this boy and always tried to stick up for him. I remember very clearly a fight that she witnessed between him and another kid in junior high, that she went and got the resource officer and made a statement. And she's always stood up for him because that's just who she is. She's an activist, and she always will speak up. And this year he has taken a lot of notice of her, I guess. But he's moved across the line. And in some ways, we're dealing with a boy who needs to learn what's appropriate. However, this kid can, when pushed, get really violent. He actually brought weapons to school last year. And so she's a little leery of him. And she should be. And so apparently, well, not apparently, but what's been happening is that he has started approaching her at school many, many, many times a day and either screaming in her ear to startle her because he gets a reaction from her and he thinks it's funny, or now he's started pushing her. So every time she sees him, he gives her a hard shove. And she's asked him lots and lots of times to stop, but it hasn't stopped. And now he has actually started seeking her out in her classes. So he'll just wander into a random class that she's in that he's not in. He's not in any of her classes. And start pushing her and fiddling with her. And it's gone too far. Yesterday, she ended up in a classroom that's not hers during 5th hour. She had permission to go to a different teacher's class and help her with a project. And he showed up in there. And it was just kind of chilling to her because she knew the only way he knew she was in there is if he'd been following her and keeping an eye on her. And she got upset and freaked out and asked him to leave her alone, and he wouldn't. And she left that classroom and went to her sister's 5th hour class to get a little support from her. And lo and behold, guess who showed up in there and really upset and freaked her out. And she came home. Well, she actually had a talk with that teacher, who is an incredible teacher who's had a huge impact on both of my girls, and then came home and sobbed in my arms that she was becoming frightened of this kid and that she's always been good to him, but she said that she's afraid because he is known to be violent and do violent and frightening things. Obviously, that's not something that can be ignored, and it's not something I'm going to make her deal with on her own. And so we put on our shoes and we went straight back to the school. Well, by the time we got there, that teacher had already been in and spoken to the principal. He'd already spoken to this kid's resource teachers to help get a handle on what was happening. And they already had a plan in place, which was great, but no one had called us. He had just let that teacher know to tell Mars this so that she'd know. Well, that's not good enough for me. And so we had a sit-down visit with him. And it was pretty interesting. A mixed bag for me. It was interesting because they were taking immediate action, which I appreciated. But I said to him, because he was treating it like it's harmless, he has a crush on you. He kept saying that. He just has a crush on you. And I said, regardless, he doesn't get to put his hands on my daughter. He doesn't get to stalk her from class to class. He doesn't get to make her uncomfortable. And he said, oh, no, I agree, totally. I just want her to understand that's why this is happening. Well, I call bullshit. I don't care. Maybe that is why this is happening, but that doesn't mean anything. This has already torn this poor kid's heart out because she is full of compassion and she didn't want to hurt his feelings and she didn't want to hurt him, but at the same time has gotten afraid. And I'm glad that she spoke up. But that idea that, again, boys will be boys. He just has a crush on you. I said, be that as it may, This is a kid who's been known to be violent. I said, he brought weapons to school last year and got expelled. And I'm not kidding you. The principal put his hands up like this and said, oh, that's not something I want to hear about. Why is that something you wouldn't want to hear about? Can anyone here help me understand that? If you have a kid in your school who's been known to be violent, known to beat up other students, and known to bring weapons to school, isn't that something you'd want to know? I was stunned. And I looked right back at him and I said, well, it did happen, and it is something you need to know about. But the conversation went on. The girls both looked at me shocked. I have no idea what that meant. If that was a confidentiality thing, I don't know what that meant. I still frankly don't, and I'm still a lot disturbed that that was his reaction, but whatever. Here's the thing. He heard it. Whether he wanted to hear it or not, he did. So the seed's been planted. He needs to know. Now, he promised Mars that they'll keep an eye on her safety. So the plan as of now was to have a talk with him today amongst the principal and one of his teachers to see if they could just back him down. If that doesn't work, then next week we have to involve his parents and the resource officer. If that doesn't work, we have to press charges. It's not going to get to that point. I don't believe that it will. I feel like we'll stand him down now. But that was pretty sobering, honestly. But at any rate, there was no way on the planet of Earth I was going to let something like that happen to one of my kids and not be front and center. He probably had had enough of me because, excuse me, he said a few things I wasn't very impressed with. He said to my daughter, I would say easily 10 times, you've got to be smart about this. We need you to be smart. You've got to be smart. You've always got to have an exit plan. When you're in the halls, you've got to be ready to duck into a classroom if you see him. Anybody's classroom. What? No. I said, if we're at that point, then we've probably got a bigger problem on our hands, don't we? I don't know. But he said to that many times, you're going to have to be smart. You've got to be smart. Well, gosh. I think being smart is coming in and reporting it to the authorities. Now, obviously, don't get stuck in a locker room with him or in some kind of a place that's not safe. Duh, right? Of course she's got to be smart. But I didn't like the honest that he put on her with that at all. But at any rate, we've certainly gone the rounds here with this whole situation. I have absolutely no idea where this goes from there. Except for that I know that what we're going to do. So anyway, I know it's going to be okay. I know that we'll take good care of things on our end. And I know that the school is trying. But I also know that if I'm not comfortable, that I don't have a problem speaking up either. So it looks like my Skype has gone down. I guess. Brittany's not seeing it, so apparently I'm not live right now, but I am here in Facebook Live. So I will, I'm going to stay here with you guys and keep talking, I guess, and I'll restart Skype in the meantime. I'm not sure what's happening. Skype has been really funny today. So, Britt, I'm not sure if you can see Skype now, but I think it's back up. It sounds like our cable carrier is having a little bit of trouble. So anyway, so that's something that we're definitely going on, you know, in our family. It's also something that I know we're going to be okay with. But at any rate, I think that we can, for some reason, Skype just disappeared on us. So we're here. Yep, Helen says I blew the radio out. Yep. All right, so we should be back now in Facebook Live and via live or the stream. So sorry about that. How weird. Anyway, whatever. We'll be okay. We'll work through this. Anyway, I wanted to talk about this because we have to be warriors for ourselves. We have to be warriors for our children. We have to be warriors for females on this planet. Women, we need each other. We've got to stand up for each other. We've got to keep an eye on each other. One thing I know is that Mars has a team of warriors at school. She has her softball team. She has her sister. She has her friends. She has a pack of girls keeping an eye on her that will most definitely help her. Yesterday, she had that lovely female teacher who walked her clear to her car to make sure that she was safe and okay so that we could get on top of this. Women, we need each other. We got to keep being diligent. We have to also keep challenging the institutions that may or may not be addressing and keeping us safe in the ways that are appropriate. So that's what it's about. We have to keep being diligent. Now, as far as this story with Mars, we'll work through it. It's going to be okay. I was grateful that the principal said to her, "This is not your fault, and your safety is paramount." And he said his feelings don't trump your safety. He said, "I know it makes you feel bad." He said, "I know you feel guilty about it because of his situation," but he said his feelings don't trump your safety, and they never will. I appreciated that. He also said, if you are ever in a position where you need to report something, I want you to walk straight into my office. It doesn't matter what else I have going on. You come straight to my door. He said, I have to know about it immediately. I appreciated that. He also said that he would make sure that this was something that was discussed in staff meeting, so that if at any point she needed any teacher, they would know what was happening. I appreciate all of that very much. I felt like he was almost there, but not quite. But that's okay. We can keep challenging. We can keep helping him learn. We can keep helping us learn. But women, we need each other more than ever. So we keep fighting the good fight, right? Absolutely. One thing that was said that I thought was fascinating, part of me really wanted to get my ire up, and then I decided maybe he wasn't wrong. He said, we're going to try to handle this first in a very gentle way so that we don't make him angry. And at first I was so irritated with that thought. Who cares if he's angry? But he said, I think he saw me and my temperature rising, and he said, the reason for that is because if we initially make him angry, it might make things worse. And he said, we're teaching this child how to be appropriate, and it may be that a soft and gentle conversation will be enough. And then she can move on, and so can he, and maybe that's best. Maybe it is. But across the board generally, and I made sure that Mars knew this afterwards because I wanted her to hear that, it doesn't matter typically if we make someone angry. Okay, you don't get to be cruel, you don't get to be mean, but when you're uncomfortable, when your safety's at risk, when you've asked someone to stop doing something and they're not stopping, we don't care about their feelings and we don't care about making them angry. Now, in the case of our little Tony, because of his disabilities, maybe he wasn't wrong. I decided maybe he wasn't wrong. Maybe that's a better plan of attack to go forward with, right? Ultimately, though, if he can't learn, if he can't get the picture, if he doesn't, if this doesn't get better immediately, then guess what? It doesn't matter if we make him angry. And if we make him angry to the degree that he can't be appropriate at school, he may not be able to be at school. And I hope it doesn't come to that for him, for his family, even for Mars. But we're not going to take this. We won't take it. So I wanted to share this with you guys just for that reason, because I think, yet again, we have to lock elbows, right? We've got to stand together. We've got to be tough. And we've got to support each other. Women need each other. Christy spoke last week at the Women's March, and she said that very thing. Women need each other. I will also say that the principal told her, he said, if you feel unsafe, you do what you need to do to feel safe. He said there won't be any repercussions for that. If you have to be physical. He said, I don't want to see you have to go there for your sake. But if that happened, he said, you may have to. He said, I don't want you to have to do that. But if your back's against a wall and you need to fight back, you fight back. You have my permission. You have my word that that's okay here. In some ways, he was there. And in some ways, he needed a little more work. Maybe that's all of us, right? This wasn't really about grading the principal on his response, but it kind of is. Anyway, so there's all of that. Okay, Helen said, if you have time today, I have an animal question. I'm concerned that Zucchini, my grandbird, may in the near future need to spend more time on his own. I've been considering purchasing a friend for him, but Bailey says in research it's very hard to find bird buddies and we may be sorry. Amen, Bailey. Any ideas about what to do for Zucchini? Yeah, Helen, a few things you might consider: leaving the TV on for him or the radio so that he has some kind of motion going, some kind of sound going, not really loud, but enough, is sometimes really helpful. A bird buddy would be a crisis. She's right. He's bonded to you guys, and it's unlikely that, at least in a short-term situation, that he's going to shift that bond to another bird. You'd end up with them separated because they may actually beat the crap out of each other. And birds fighting is a bit of a terrifying thing. It's kind of funny. It's not really funny, but the way they fight is pretty wild. But you don't want that. The thing we want to watch for in him is a change in behavior. So if, like, he's normally a little sweetheart, and when you're starting to come home now, he's biting, then we know that he's getting a little lonely. So again, things like stimulation, like TV and radio, sometimes help a lot. Lots of toys in his cage. Enough treats and food that he can get through the day and not feel like he's being deprived. All of those things are helpful. And he may have a little getting used to it period too. That's pretty normal. The thing we really don't want to see is plucking. Sometimes birds who go through a big change will start pulling out all of their feathers. And that is a horrible sight. I have seen birds who only have the feathers on the top of their head that they can't get to. They're literally bald everywhere else. That's awful. I don't really feel like we'll do that with him. He's too young. You know, he's not that set in his ways. He is set in his ways, but this isn't, that he's been home with you for 15 years and now he's going to be home alone. So you can expect that when you get home, he may punish, he may bite, he may scream, he might be a little twerp for a little bit, but he's young enough he should be able to adjust. So that's what I see with that, Helen, and I can sure talk to him about it more when the time comes and we can keep working through it. Okay, Helen's 3-year-old lab, Ivy's been scratching. She hasn't changed food, added Greek yogurt and flaxseed oil, now a hot spot. Maureen, the thing to ask is if your food has changed. You may not have changed food, but have they changed their recipe? Have they gone for a lower quality ingredient? That's sometimes the biggest problem, is that, you feel like, well, I didn't change anything. That doesn't mean it didn't change. That's my suspicion, is that ingredients in her food did change, because a hot spot is usually food. So definitely talk to your vet and see if they have any suggestions, but you may go for a new bag of food and see if it was just that run. Or you may decide to go for something more hypoallergenic. But I'd ask your vet what their recommendation is for that. But I feel like the food did change. It sucks. It sucks when they do that. Okay. I have to tell you guys, in the Facebook Live, I don't see any of your questions. They've all scrolled up, so I'm not seeing any of that there. Okay, Kat says, if you do any readings today, I would love to know what's going on with my energy. Last week I was on a really super high, and this week I'm super low. I feel flat and no joy in anything at the moment. It's trickling over into my relationship. Kat, that feels like depression. What's going on? Let me take a look at you. I'm going to do a clearing because you do have a pretty heavy cloak of energy laying over top of you, and your crown is huge. So much pressure in your head. So I'm going to do that, but I'm also going to ask you to consider, could you be going through some seasonal affective disorder stuff? Could this be another kind of depression? These are questions to ask your doctor and see how they want to proceed. But you've hit a valley, but there's no reason to don't try and suffer through it. Don't try and put yourself through it. That's just painful and unfair to you, really, and your relationship. So let's see it for what it is right now and get on top of it and do what you need to do to feel better. I know that you will, but I did give you a good clearing here so that we can get you back on top. Okay, so Angie, thank you for chiming back in. I knew I had seen something earlier and I had missed it. So Angie, if I recall, when we spoke last week, you lost both of your parents last February, I believe. And you're trying to work through the grief of that. And that's a lot of grief to process all at once, as we know. That is a really thick and sticky place to be. I feel like a couple of things. First of all, I want you to know that we're coming up on a year in February. You've done almost all of the first now. Now you'll get to do the first in February around the deaths, and you'll finally have that piece behind you. Believe it or not, it helps. But I feel like for you, I really do want to do some energy work on you, though. You've got so much heavy, thick energy around you. You know what it is, Angie? It's not just your grief, but it's everybody else's. And it's all of this pity that everybody has thrown at you that it's not made you feel better. It's made you feel worse. You're just carrying so much for everybody around you besides yourself. So I'm just lifting this big bout of heaviness off of you so that you can start feeling more like yourself again. Now, I want to ask you to start doing some creative stuff. And I know you're probably feeling a little bit numb and a little bit brain dead, and that's normal, super normal. But to help draw your light out of you, I wonder if we could just start with some little things like an adult coloring book or cooking or making some plans for a garden this summer or whatever it is for you that feels creative. I feel like it would help start getting your light back and help start getting your focus back. So we're going to see this February come. It's probably going to suck, but then you're going to move through it. And I do see things getting lighter. And I wonder if some regular energy work for you would be very wise too, to help keep clearing that heart, clearing out the layers as they come and helping you to get feeling better. So all of my love to you, Angie. I know things have been tough. Okay, guys, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for helping me to launch the book. I want to remind you that I'll be back in an hour right after Angel with an Edge on the long road with Kai Greenway. So I would love it if you join us there as well. Thank you so much for being here. You'll see me over at 12listen.com. Take care, everybody. You're listening to The Katie Weaver Show on 12 Radio, where we're changing the way you listen to the world.